What I'd like to do is really spend a few minutes just planting some seeds for thought and ask ourselves the question, when it comes to the India corrugated packaging industry in the future, do we see this as an evolution or possibly a revolution? I've got some thoughts and they're hypotheses, and we'll throw those out and may have a chance to take a couple of questions. The other thing that I'd like to do, though, is for those of you that maybe aren't familiar with International Paper, take just a few minutes to maybe establish a little bit of credibility. You know, what gives me the right to be standing up here and talking to you about the packaging business, both personally as well as, you know, as a company. So if you'll allow me, we'll kind of walk through a couple of slides that maybe will present a foundation for doing that, and then we'll kind of jump into, you know, some of the food for thought. And I'm actually am thrilled to be here, because this truly will be a summary, because a lot of the thoughts that have already been teed up, particularly with Mr. Doss's recent presentation, and I want to kind of expand on that a little bit. So, okay? All right, so a little bit about International Paper. We are a global leader in the paper and packaging business. You know, on behalf of the nearly 5,000 employees, or just over 5,000 employees here in India as part of the Andhra Pradesh paper mills, and over 70,000 employees worldwide in International Paper, it's a thrill for us to be, you know, kind of standing up here and addressing this group. And I want to thank the associations that, you know, allowed us to come here. International Paper was founded about 115 years ago. A group of companies came together, and primarily in the northeast of United States of America, about 18 of them to be exact, and formed International Paper in January of that year. We are headquartered in Memphis, Tennessee. We are a New York-based corporation, but our operations and our executive offices are, you know, in Memphis, Tennessee as of about 1987. Okay, so we've been there actually just over 25 years. And we have net sales of approximately $30 billion. We operate in these areas of the world that you see. We still have about 70%, you know, of our sales, so to speak, are coming from North America. But we have significant operations in Brazil, Russia, China, and most recently have kind of stepped into India about almost 2 years ago. Time flies when you're having fun. Let's jump into industrial packaging for just a minute and give you a sense of what our global footprint is. We produce approximately 15 million metric tons of linerboard and or test liner each year, and now and medium as well, with the Weyerhaeuser you know, acquisition. As you can see, this makes us the largest producer of linerboard in the world, with Nine Dragons, Lee and Mann, and so forth, you know, falling just underneath that. We have operations in North America, Latin America recently with the purchase of Orso, as well as Europe, North Africa, and Asia. Just a few years ago, we bought some box plants there. So we have close to 30 mills operating around the world in this particular business, and close to 200 box plants, you know, around the world. So we feel pretty good about our position and some of the learnings. We've been in this business, in the industrial packaging business, for, you know, probably on the order of 50 or 60 years more. So paper is slowly becoming kind of the subordinate, you know, segment for us. It's primarily packaging. I'm not sure that warrants a name change. It'll be hard for me to say International Packaging. Here's a little bit about, you know, kind of what we've experienced over the years in terms of the segments that we operate in within our industrial packaging or packaging business. And what I would propose we could expect, and probably are somewhat what we're seeing here in India in terms of the, you know, kind of the major segments. Here what you see in this donut on the left-hand side of the graph is about 55% of our business, as well as the kind of the industry look here in India and around the world is dedicated to food and beverage. Okay, should be no surprise to anybody sitting in this room. The next largest segment would be kind of the non-durables, and then close behind that would be durable goods and distribution. Okay, make sense? No real surprises there. And in North America, we're a little bit more skewed in IP, like closer to 60% or greater in the food and beverage area, particularly in food. We are very heavy into protein in the United States. So a lot of chicken, beef, and so forth is a big, big part of our business. And then also, as well as the ag business, I was thrilled to see the, kind of the farm to fork analogy that Mr. Doss used, and, International Paper's proud of its DeFore business, which is basically taking those boxes, as you described so aptly, erecting them in the fields, putting in agricultural products, and then moving them straight into the retail outlets, large food chains, and so forth. So this has been going on for, for quite some time. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about India from from our perspective, and clearly these are some of the data that's already been kind of teed up. Economic growth in India is going to be driven by the same thing that kind of drives it around the rest of the world. You've got GDP growth, you've got consumer spending, clearly industrial production, as that grows, and then obviously as we become, let's call it, more efficient and effective within the retail trade. We talked about some of the issues that we currently face, not only in India but in a lot of places around the world. But clearly, there's some big hurdles in India when we talk about food waste and so forth. Those are challenges. At the same time, they're also opportunities. And packaging can play a key role in helping us solve some of these. As Carl and mentioned earlier, you see the kind of the corrugated consumption in millions of tons. I'm still talking tons here, although I can speak in area as well. You see where India is over the course of the last number of years relative to the rest of kind of the major markets out there. Again, in its infancy, but poised, I think, to really grow. So, again, about 4 million tons a year. But on a per capita basis, it's about 2.8, kilograms per individual. So you see that in comparison to the United States. And this is both paper and packaging, and China. So just a relatively small amount of doubling is, you just see the huge potential. And I don't think we fully understand or have grasped yet what the potential of India is because of all the infrastructure issues that we face, whether it's power, roads, and so forth. But once those are solved, you think about a population of 1.3 billion, 1.4 billion, and a third the size of the United States. Logistically, you solve the problems, and all of a sudden you've got a very efficient, effective, packaging business that can make a lot of money. To Jack's point, I mean, there's some people sitting in this room that 10, 15 years from now, doing the right things, and I'll plant some seeds for you to think about, those that are in the box business. That could really drive incremental value for your businesses individually, but clearly, for the overall industry. Okay. This is a complicated chart. I'm gonna simplify this greatly. If you look at the vertical axis, think about that as kind of large retailers. Okay, as you move up, broadening their portfolio. So let's talk about a Hypercity, for an example, which is kind of the equivalent to Walmart in the United States, for lack of a better comparison. They're in the food and all the other kind of durables and some of the non-durables that, that we get. You walk in there for convenience sake, you kind of got everything, right? And move along the right-hand side, and that's really about the percentage of share, okay, that, say, the top 3 or so or big manufacturers or retailers will have, okay? What this basically says is that, does this pointer work as well? No? That India, down here in the bottom left, just think about it in the context of the opportunity that's there. Here is my hypothesis, and what I'd like you to be thinking about is as packaging manufacturers that will benefit from what I will call explosive growth. The trajectory of what you've seen happen in the United States or in Europe, so the slope of that evolution, okay, is going to be much steeper. Why? Because you've learned. I mean, we've learned. You're going to have, you're an opportunity, not necessarily, taking every single step that some of the other countries have taken, but your future and the future, our future here in India, a lot of it can be defined by looking back at the history of some of the others. If not learning from their mistakes, avoiding them, all right, as well as, and then that will serve to accelerate, the growth. Now, what does that mean? That means those of us that are in converting businesses, that are in packaging businesses, as we've listened to a number of the presenters here talk about today, us being able to meet the needs of the very fast-changing requirements of our consumers out there. I mean, think about the countries that have skipped landlines, for an example, gone straight to cell phones, okay? Gone straight to satellite dishes, okay, in terms of TV and so forth. My kids today, and a lot of yours, this is one of the things that has revolutionized, communication, right? To a paper maker, and I'm a paper maker from a long background. I grew up on paper machines. I managed paper machines, also box machines. This is an iPad, right? Everybody's familiar with these. I carry them around now. But guess what else it is? Paper makers will look at this and say, well, that's replacing books. These got to be packaged. They got to be shipped all over the world, all right? International Paper, we enjoy this, a large part of this business. Our kids today and so forth, my kids, I've got a 23-year-old son and a 19-year-old son. This is all they carry, right? This is it, okay? We can wail against these and say, well, that's bad. No, these are good things, okay? And we got to learn how to adapt, and we're going to have to learn how to adapt in our business, as we see this, as we see ourselves evolve. So it's extremely, extremely important. So what are the implications for what I would call this explosive, growth? And, is it evolutionary or revolutionary? The implications for the corrugated products, in context of organized retail, and I just give you some food for thought. And some of this has already been mentioned. There is going to be consolidation. There's going to be consolidation within the retail business, okay? There's going to be, and when the retailers do that, and the end users and the consumer packaging companies, consumer companies do this, they're going to be also looking for consistency across their packaging suppliers and the rest of their suppliers. That has a tendency to drive consolidation within those parts of the business as well, right? There are going to be fewer players with a wider reach. Why do I think that's, probably more imminent here in India? It's a smaller land area. Okay, it's smaller than China. It's smaller than the U.S. Okay, and smaller than kind of if you look at expanded Europe. Okay, so a much easier once infrastructure kind of things are fixed, a much easier hurdle to get over, and players, big players, will be able to drive the kind of value and synergies and so forth. We can expect to see that. Is this something tomorrow? Maybe not. But clearly within the coming decades, I think you will see this, and it'll probably happen in a pretty rapid fashion. And this will be driven by our customers and our consumers. Flexibility to meet demands of rapidly growing industry. Innovation was mentioned, several times. I know Mr. Doss mentioned that as well. Having customized offerings. Being in a position to where you can run things, Jack mentioned 6-second runs. That's going to happen. Look at what's happened in the printing industry. Okay, short runs. They're customizing magazines now for individuals. Right? I mean, you can go online today and order a book and put your family's names in the book, and they'll send it to you. That was unheard of years ago. Well, you need 10,000 copies before I'll even talk to you. Right? That's the past. The technology today has allowed us to have shorter runs. You're going to have to be prepared for that. That requires investment. That requires thinking ahead. This really becomes the communication business. you just happens to be on a box, right? So we are in the communication business in a lot of ways, and we have to think about it that way. We're conveying knowledge. We're conveying information about what's inside the box. Yeah, we're shipping it. We're moving it. It's got to get there safely, but at the same time, it's all about communication and selling. Raw material supplies, quality and consistency, we talked about that. CSR and sustainability. Don't get in an elevator, okay, and not have a 60-second spiel on why the paper industry, why the packaging industry is good for our economy, good for the environment. It is. It is. Know the facts. I get frustrated as well as you do about the many emails that I get that say, save a tree, don't print this email, or be eco-friendly and don't print this email, okay? How many times have you heard somebody say, well, save an ear of corn, don't eat corn, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a renewable, reusable, recyclable, sustainable, eco-friendly product. And be familiar with the statistics. There are more trees on the planet today than there were 100 years ago. It's because of our industry and what we're doing to manage forests. And you have to be knowledgeable and in a place to talk about it. Okay? It happens at the individual level. It happens with our children. A lot of our kids today, those of you that have children, are being taught in school that paper and packaging is a bad thing, okay? That's wrong, okay? And, we have to correct that. We're spending a lot of time and energy and resources, inside of International Paper to help that, to help get the message out, to help people understand. But this really needs to happen here. And I walk down my street. I live here in Hyderabad. I've been here for a year. And there's a school right down our street, and we walk by it, and on the wall it's basically got things that suggest that our industry is not very friendly to the environment. That's where it starts, because those 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds become buyers and consumers in less than 10 years. And you start forming an opinion at that age. It's hard to turn it around when they're 20. Okay? So, something to think about. Okay, this is kind of the heart of the message. Packaging is a marketing and sales solution. It is not just a box. We talked about, again, I'm playing off of Mr. Doss's presentation. I almost think that we collaborated. We didn't, and I assure you we didn't. If you allow your product to be defined as fiber plus energy plus labor plus transportation to convert it and ship it, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. It will always be a low margin business, okay? This is not about a box, a physical box. This is about a solution to whatever your customer's need is. Some of those are, supply chain. Some of it may be protecting a very, a $2,000, pardon me, I messed up there, a 1 lakh rupee television, okay? They are going to be less concerned that box may cost $4, or I'm doing the 60, right, 2,400 rupees. All right, so you need to be thinking about the solution, the value that you're bringing and this product brings to the supply chain. It's not just fiber plus conversion cost. You're defeated, we're defeated right out the gate if that's the stance that we take. So the package must and does create value throughout the supply chain. It protects the product, okay? It's logistically friendly, can be from field to shelf. As we talked about, it's recoverable, all right? It's appealing and can be appealing at the point of purchase. The way markets have evolved and developed, in other parts of the world, those of you may decide, hey, I'm going to get into litho-lam. I'm going to be doing things that are microflute, that are aimed at these particular segments. Print quality, appearance become extremely, extremely important. Okay? It is what the customer finally sees before they buy the product. It could be that differentiation. View your product, our product, as that, as a solution. It is eco-friendly. Okay? That's a fact. And understand and learn to capture the full value provided. I think, in my opinion, that the India corrugated packaging market is poised for explosive growth. That's the way we feel in International Paper. And we see it as an evolution, but with a capital R. This is going to be a time over the course of the next few years where I think you see, tremendous growth. Basically there is demand right now that calls for, basically a 300,000 to 400,000 ton machine every single year in terms of linerboard manufacturing. And that's currently right now being met by, imports and other things that are, in other ways. There's an opportunity for us to kind of get our domestic act together. We're excited to be here, and certainly excited about our acquisition of APPM, and look forward to many, many years in the India market and being neighbors. So with that, I will stop. A minute and 50 seconds early, and do we have time for questions, or ML?